What we need is not more medication, but more education, because the best prescription is knowledge. This is Exposé coming to you live from Lagos, Nigeria, every Monday on Instagram, YouTube, and Facebook simultaneously. I'm the regular host, Tony Akinyemi. Don't forget, what we need is not more medication, but more education, because the best prescription is knowledge.
According to the World Health Organization statistics on diabetes, the number of people with diabetes rose from 108 million in 1980 to 422 million in 2014. Prevalence has been rising more rapidly in low and middle income countries than in high income countries.
Okay, diabetics basically is a chronic metabolic disorder that is caused by inability of the body to synthesize carbohydrate, proteins, or fats due to relative or absolute deficiency of insulin in the body, or as a result of the body to respond to the available insulin in the system. When that happens, there is a high rate of carbohydrates in the system that the body can only be used. It's like suffering in the midst of plenty. So we have diabetes insipidus and diabetes mellitus. The one people commonly know about is diabetes mellitus that deals with the glucose. Insipidus has to do with water.
What is diabetes mellitus? Now, according to the American Diabetes Association, diabetes is a disease in which the body does not produce or properly use insulin. And let me explain that. There are two critical factors there. One is that the body is not producing either insulin at all, or it is not producing sufficient insulin. In other words, there is inadequacy of insulin. There is a deficiency of insulin. That is one cause of diabetes. The second cause is it may be that the body is actually producing sufficient insulin, but the body is not properly utilizing the insulin, or put another way, the body is resistant to the insulin. Now, what is the job of insulin? Insulin helps to open the door to our cells. Now, every cell needs to eat, and glucose is the main fuel that every cell utilizes for energy. And so each cell has a membrane, like a fence, a boundary around it that encloses it. For nutrients, or glucose in particular, to enter into the cell so the cell can eat, so to speak, the membrane has to open up to allow insulin to go in. It's called membrane permeability.
Diabetes is a major cause of blindness, kidney failure, heart attacks, stroke, and lower limb amputation.
If you have not been medically confirmed or diagnosed to be diabetic, please do not label yourself diabetic simply because you have some of the symptoms. Okay? A laboratory test will always confirm or rule out diabetes. Now, the symptoms are about 9 or 10 of them, okay, that I'm going to be talking about. The first one is, again, polyuria, constant need to urinate, frequent urination. It's also one of the signs of diabetes. Of course, it's not only diabetes that causes polyuria. I have mentioned that prostate disorders can also cause it. Kidney infections, bladder infections, urinary tract infections can also cause it. I've also mentioned that diabetes insipidus can also cause it. Now, again, even fibroid. Some women that have very big fibroid in their uterus, the fibroid is compressing on the bladder. So the space in the bladder is so small that the bladder gets filled up very quickly. Such women will be going to the bathroom to urinate very frequently, not because they are diabetic, but because of this fibroid that is pressing on their bladder, thereby reducing the amount of space, that urine volume that the body or the bladder can retain per time. So the first sign for you to go for screening is if you urinate frequently. At least go find out why you are urinating frequently. Some people drink a lot of fluid, particularly towards bedtime. That's why they wake up 3, 4, 5 times to urinate in the night. It doesn't mean they are diabetic, but it's worth the effort to go and screen, to go and check. Number 2 symptom of diabetes mellitus is when there is sugar in the urine, glucose in the urine. How do you get to know that? The first thing that makes you suspicious of that is when you begin to see ants galvanizing and gathering around your toilet bowl in the bathroom, in the toilet. When you see ants gathering in your toilet, somebody in that house may be diabetic. That person may be urinating sugar in their urine, and that is a symptom that needs to be checked out. Everybody needs to go screen in that house. Number 3 symptom is inability to perceive sweetness properly. Now, if you take a glass of sugar, about 240 ml of water, 8 ounces of water, and you dissolve 1 cube of sugar inside, if you give it to certain people and they drink, they will not even perceive the taste of sweetness of sugar in that water because the taste is not strong enough for their taste bud to pick it up. Because diabetes has a way of numbing, it numbs your taste bud that you are not able to perceive sweetness properly anymore. You may have to put up to 1.5 cubes or even 2 cubes of sugar in a glass of water for certain people who are diabetic to be able to perceive that that water is sweet. That's how bad diabetes is. Now, it is a sugar management problem, and it also creates a situation where you see diabetics loading their beverages and their drinks with a lot of sugar because they can't perceive the sweetness. All right. Number 4 symptom is extreme thirst all the time. Of course, all of us do get thirsty from time to time, particularly when the weather is very, very warm and humid. We get thirsty, okay? And we tend to drink a lot of water because we sweat a lot. But when that thirst is all the time, it doesn't matter whether it is dry weather or cold weather, you just are thirsty all the time and you keep drinking water all the time and it doesn't quench the thirst, then that is a signal, a sign. The 5th one is being constantly hungry and craving sugar all the time, always craving something sweet all the time. That could be a sign of diabetes. Number 6 is eyesight problems, blurred vision. Some people wake up and everywhere is cloudy, okay, because diabetes affects the quality of your eyes, of your vision. Okay, number 7 is fatigue, extreme tiredness all the time because the sugar in your blood is not being utilized for energy. So even though you are eating, but you are still feeling tired. Then number 8 is weight loss, especially in type 1 diabetic patients because they are not able to utilize their glucose very well, so they lose weight very rapidly. Number 9 is itchiness, especially around the genitals because again, when there is a lot of sugar circulating around the blood, it breeds a lot of yeast, a lot of fungi. So fungal growth happens, Candida albicans and what have you, and that creates a lot of yeast infection, particularly in the genitals, both for females and males, particularly in females. And those are all signs. Number 10, if somebody has a wound in the leg or anywhere and the wound refuses to heal in the normal time it should heal, that could be a signal that the person is diabetic.
Between 2000 and 2019, there was a 3% increase in diabetes mortality rates by age.
These are the many diabetes-induced health complications that may arise. Number 1 is diabetic retinopathy. That is something that affects the retina of the eyes. Untreated diabetes begins to affect the retina of the eyes. It may also lead to various other eye problems such as glaucoma, which is too much pressure in the eyes, or cataracts, which is oxidative damage to the lens of the eyes, or even blindness. The second diabetes-induced health complication that may arise from diabetes that is not properly addressed is called diabetic nephropathy. Of course, when you hear nephro, I've mentioned that before, it refers to the kidney. When you hear renal, that refers to the kidney as well. So nephropathy is damage to the kidneys that is caused by uncontrolled diabetes. The third diabetes-induced health complication that we'll be talking about is peripheral and autonomic neuropathy. When you hear neuro, that refers to the nerves or the nervous system. So peripheral means in the extremities, in the periphery. And then the autonomic nervous system can also be impacted and impaired. The fourth complication that can be health complication that can be diabetes induced is sexual dysfunction. In men in particular who are diabetic, impotence is very common. Erectile dysfunction, ED, is very common. The man is not able to gain erection anymore, and there's a lot of frustration in the other room. Number 5, diabetes-induced health complication is limb loss, usually due to serious infections that makes the leg to become gangrenous. So when gangrene develops, this may necessitate limb amputation. The 6th diabetes-induced health complication that can happen is skin sores and diabetic leg ulcers that will not heal. Sores that will develop that will not heal. The 7th complication is cardiovascular diseases. Diabetes can lead to heart disease and damaged blood vessels. These are cardiovascular conditions. Those who are diabetic are more prone to developing cardiovascular problems. The 8th one is cerebrovascular accidents, such as stroke. Diabetes, those who are diabetics are 2 to 4 times more likely to die of a heart attack or suffer a stroke than the regular person. Now, the 9th one is blood vessel diseases. Untreated diabetes can lead to diseases of the large blood vessels or small blood vessels. The large blood vessels are called macrovascular diseases. The ones that affect the large blood vessels are macrovascular diseases. And the ones that affect the small blood vessels are microvascular diseases. So these are the various complications that can happen if a person has diabetes and he does not attend to it properly and readily. And let me reiterate, if all you are doing to treat your diabetes is to simply swallow pills, tablets, and capsules, or to give yourself injections every day, you are doing something, but you are not doing enough. You can only delay the complications till a future date, but the complications one of these days will still arise. It's sad to say, but that's the truth. I do not want to deceive you. What I'm saying in effect is that while you are receiving your hospital treatment, it's high time you started looking again also at your diet and your lifestyle. I keep saying it every now and then. Any physician that tells you you can eat whatever you like when you are dealing with a disease, that physician is professionally reckless, professionally irresponsible, and you too are being deceived. So please, if you are diabetic, one of the best things you can do for yourself is to settle down and review your diet, review your lifestyle, and adjust them as necessary.
Meet Emily. She is passionate about living a healthy life, but finds it difficult to access information on health and wellness.
Cancer is survivable.
That is until she discovered the online healthy living training offered by Reverend Tony Akinyemi on lms.rafainstitute.org. The online healthy living training program is a comprehensive interactive course that covers topics such as nutrition, fitness, stress management, and mental health. The course is designed to provide participants with practical tips and strategies to improve their health and well-being. Emily is now equipped with the knowledge and skills she needs to live a healthy life. Join Emily and countless others in living a healthy life by signing up for the online healthy living training program today.
You can actually reverse diabetes. When you understand diabetes, you understand what it is, you understand how it happens, the risk factors, the causes, and the complications that it can give rise to. Those who already have it to start putting measures in place to reverse it, or at the very least, to control it. My daughter is a medical doctor and I am a nutritionist. We co-authored Defeating Diabetes Naturally. You'll find it on Amazon.com.
All right, you're welcome back to Exposé with Tony Akinyemi, brought to you by the Shepherd's Flock International Church. And we are looking at the things to avoid in the diet of a diabetic if that diabetic hopes to reverse the condition. But we're going to take at least the first point in the 10-point agenda. In other words, 10 things that every diabetic should undertake in order for them to hopefully reverse their diabetes. The first point on our 10-point agenda is what we have tagged neuroprogramming. Neuroprogramming. And that simply means rethinking your beliefs. Because you see, belief is powerful. There is what we call the psychosomatic, thing out there, the mind-body connection. What goes on in my mind has a lot of effect and impact as well as implications for my body. See, the body is soma, and then your mind, your psyche. So we call it psychosomatic. In other words, mind-body connection, the effect of what goes on in my mind on my body. Now, so we'll be looking at least 4 major things under this point: rethinking your belief or neuroprogramming. Would you like to start with the first part? What is the first thing that a person has to reorientate himself or herself about their beliefs regarding diabetes? Some people believe, for example, that this thing is hereditary. It's in my genes. I inherited bad genes, diabetic genes from my parents. It's not my fault. I'm innocent. I didn't contribute to this problem, and there's nothing I can do that can change anything. So why bother? What would you like to say regarding that?
Heredity is your genes are a loaded gun. It's your diet and lifestyle that decides if sugar is.
I'll pull the trigger.
So yes, some people might inherit certain genes that predispose them to developing diabetes. Note the word predispose. The fact that you're predisposed to something does not mean that you will eventually develop that thing. And so carrying certain genes, I'm a Nigerian, for example. I can decide to carry it on my head that I'm a black Nigerian, and that's the reason for all of my problems in this life. But there are other black Nigerians that are successful and doing very well in spite of being black and Nigerian. So the fact that you have familial traits of diabetes does not mean that you...
The word familial, by the way, means something that runs in the family. Okay.
Yes. Does not mean that you would have or you should have diabetes, or that is why you have diabetes.
Now we're going to take the second point on our 10-point agenda for the reversal of diabetes. And the second point has to do with working on your diet. Now, that goes in 2 parts. The first part is identifying the things that you need to eliminate from your diet. The things you need to avoid eating or drinking. Okay? All right. So we start with part A. And again, I'll be asking Dr. Melody a number of questions today about this working on our diet as a second point in our 10-point agenda. Now, can you give us some examples of things that a diabetic patient must avoid in their diet, and then why?
I think first on the list will be the obvious one.
Right.
Sugar.
Sugar, okay.
Sugar, refined carbohydrates, all forms of sugar, sugar in all its
What
forms.
are refined carbohydrates?
Okay, so carbohydrates is a class of macronutrients. I'm sure everybody knows that from basic science.
Yeah.
It's hydrocarbons. So carbons arranged with water molecules. So we call them hydrocarbons. CH2. That's the basic unit of carbohydrates.
So if somebody is to avoid sugar, for example, what would be the healthy alternatives for a diabetic, for example, right?
For someone who is just starting out the journey, I I would rather you go for healthy alternative sweeteners like stevia, for example, which is almost zero calories.
Stevia is Stevia for those who don't know. Let's migrate from there a little bit to refined carbohydrates like white flour.
Okay.
White flour products.
White flour is a no-no.
Okay, for the diabetic.
Yes, as well as wheat flour.
Okay, what about fast food and fried food?
Of course. So fast foods contain many toxic chemicals. The way they process them is not, they've killed and murdered and packaged it neatly for you to eat. They are bereft of essential nutrients. They contain a lot of toxic substances. So let's take fried food, for example. The oil that they use has been damaged. The combination of the oil at high heat with the meals produce some cancerous and toxic substances.
Like acrylamide.
Yes. Then they also contain bad fat. So there's no way you're going to fry food or eat fast food. They're not going to be eating a lot of trans fats.
But stir fry sauteing may still be acceptable. All right. So those constitute some of the things that we need to eliminate.
I forgot milk
products. Okay. Now the next item. Would you like to touch on another item that they need to avoid?
Cow milk.
Okay, and why? Go ahead.
Let's start with type 1 diabetes. There are studies that show that early introduction of babies to cow milk products predisposes them to type 1 diabetes. Because of the
bovine insulin that is found inside the cow milk. Okay, so artificial sweeteners like saccharin, aspartame, they are all no-nos. Okay, let's go ahead.
So, of course, diabetogenic medications, if you're on any medication that can predispose you to developing high blood sugar, you should stay off it if you're trying to reverse your sugar and switch to other things or healthier alternatives to help. Alcoholic beverages, I think we spoke about this at length when we talked about alcohol. Processed foods that are found in cartons and tins. And
I call them dead food lying in states. On the supermarket shelves.
Yes.
Pay your last respect and walk away. Go to the raw food, living food aisle in your grocery store and go organic.
Let me go over the 10-point agenda with you and how far we have gone. The very first point is for you to do what we call neuroprogramming or rethinking your beliefs. That's point number 1. Believe that diabetes can be prevented, diabetes can be reversed. Number 2 is to work on your diet. Be very courageous to do it. Be disciplined. Do it the right way and stick with it. Number 3 is to get active, exercise. Exercise is very critical. Number 4 is to manage your stress management. Take it easy so that your body chemistry can be balanced. Your mental health can also be good. Number 5 is to manage your weight. If you are obese or overweight, lose weight appropriately. Target your ideal weight and work towards achieving that over a 3 to 6 month period. Don't rush it. Make it gradual. And then number 6 is the one we started discussing. That is sharpening your insulin sensitivity or reversing insulin resistance. That's very important. And that one I'll be continuing today. There are certain ways to do that. When you lose weight, you're helping that. When you exercise, you are helping that. When you build muscle weight, you are helping that. Okay. Now, you can also use certain supplements to achieve that. Thank you again for sticking with us. Thank you for your time this evening. Thank you for inviting your friends and your colleagues and neighbors. Thank you for sending this video to all your contacts. And thank you for being a faithful viewer of Exposé with Tony Akinyemi. Don't forget, what we need is not more medication, but more education, for the best prescription is knowledge. To be informed is to be transformed. To be uninformed is to be deformed. God bless you. Have a beautiful week ahead. And see you same time, same platform, next Monday, 8 p.m. Nigerian time. Bye-bye.
Meet Emily. She is passionate about living a healthy life, but finds it difficult to access information on health and wellness.
Cancer is survivable.
That is until she discovered the online healthy living training offered by Reverend Tony Akinyemi on lms.rafainstitute.org. The online healthy living training program is a comprehensive interactive course that covers topics such as nutrition, fitness, stress management, and mental health. The course is designed to provide participants with practical tips and strategies to improve their health and well-being. Emily is now equipped with the knowledge and skills she needs to live a healthy life. Join Emily and countless others in living a healthy life by signing up for the online healthy living training program today.